I recently had a commenter come to my blog making the statement that group economics is the new snake oil. I'm going to have to refute that argument because everyone in America has used group economics to enrich themselves in the past century. Everybody from the Irish in the 1800s and the Italians in the early 20th century to the Greeks, all of them used group economics. When they came here, they had one, specialized skills. Two, they opened up businesses, and three, they started doing businesses with each other. And then they branched out to doing businesses with other communities. And they used the group economic model to build the economic power and, in most cases, political power to get seats in Congress, the Senate, and local political offices. The only people who have not used group economics, in the last 40 years, are black people. Because before we did use group economics to build things like Black Wall Street, and we used group economics to build towns like Rosewood. African Americans have owned businesses, and we had specialized skills, and we opened up businesses, and we built businesses that took care of the black community. And we built black families with that, with the money we used from group economics. We've always used group economics. It wasn't until the establishment of to white feminism and the establishment of the welfare state in the black community that black people stopped using group economics, and our community fell apart because it was with the establishment of the black matriarchy um, through the welfare state and the white feminist movement that led to black people no longer using group economics. Um, there's always this notion in the black community that shopping at somebody else's business is better than shopping at your own business, and that's why the black community is poor right now. Um, Without group economics, you cannot have a community that functions. If you look at the black community over the last 40 years, most of the economic resources have been taken out of the black community by non-black people because they establish businesses here. African Americans go to these businesses and support these businesses with all their effort and all their heart. And they go and they make these people rich at their own expense. The black community is the only community that enriches others while subsidizing and financing their own unemployment and poverty. Our group, we don't practice group economics, but it's not a snake oil. It's been a proven concept over the last century and even over the last 20 years because in the last 20 years, Indians have used group economics, Arabs have used group economics. Since the 1980s, Koreans have used group economics here in the Bronx, and it's been so successful for them, they were able to move out of the Bronx, away from the African American Negro, all the way to Elmhurst, Queens, and parts of Queens, and establish their own communities. Um, Everybody uses the African American dollar and the African American community as a stepping stone. What's the first place people go to open up a business when you come, out of a foreign country? You go right to the black community because black people will spend their dollars with anyone except the black person. Um, they know that it's the fastest and easiest way to get wealth because black people don't like black people and they don't like to support other black people. Um, and black people we're just sad. We think that group economics is snake oil, but here we are, the poorest people in the world, the ones that everybody uses as a stepping stone. People step on the backs of black people and build their communities on the backs of black people. They take all of the black dollars and take them out to other parts of the world. I'm seeing it happening even right now. Even Africans, from like people from Ghana and Mali and other countries, come right into the African American community, set up businesses, and take black dollars out of the black community because black people think that concepts like group economics are snake oil. But these same people, after they establish their businesses in the black community for 5 or maybe 10 years, like the Koreans I saw in the 1980s and the 1990s, once they've made enough money, they start building their own communities. Because they not only have their dollars of their Korean or other non-black people, they have the black dollar, which helps them get the capital to build their own business, build businesses, and build their own communities. Meanwhile, the black community is the poorest community in the land. It's crumbling and it's on its way to being gentrified out because black people have been screwing up on the job. I mean, sadly, we have not been doing what we need to do on an economic front and on a business front. Most black people are more interested in social currency than actually creating real currency and creating economic power and political power. Because I've seen this right here in the South Bronx for the past 30 years growing up here in the South Bronx. I watched Hispanics go from bodega owners to politicians and business owners. Hispanics pretty much now have most of the council seats here in the Bronx. Um, Hispanics control the county clerk's office. Most of the people who work in the county clerk's office. As I was going to jury duty one day, most of them are Hispanic. Most of the guards are Hispanic. That's not by design. That's because of group economics, and that's because when you have economic power, you have political power, and when you have political power and business power, you can control who gets hired, who gets the jobs, and who has influence over the community, who creates the policies over the community. Black people don't control anything. We don't think to control our businesses. We don't think to control our institutions. We don't think to protect our institutions. And we don't support our institutions, which is why we are the poorest people in the world, in the industrialized world. Um, we're not doing what we need to do, and to say group economics is snake oil, I mean, that's a lie. Everybody is using group economics, everybody's using the black community as their stepping stone. And they continue to use black people as their stepping stone because black people, for all of our marching and protesting, we don't understand that economic power leads to political power, and that without economic power, you have nothing. I mean, you need business institutions, you need businesses to employ black people. I mean, there's a reason why we have an 80% unemployment rate. It's because we don't own any businesses. We don't think to own any businesses. We don't think that we don't understand that if you don't support your own businesses, your own businesses can't hire you. The only person who's going to hire you is somebody that looks like you. You can't look to somebody else to give you a job. And that's the big problem with most black people today. They're always looking for somebody else to give them a job. They're always looking for some other person to see their worth and see their value. But if you don't see yourself as valuable, if you don't see yourself as having a worth, then nobody's going to see you as having a worth. And the problem with most black people is we keep looking to other nationalities and other ethnicities to see our value and our worth. And we keep looking to them for jobs. We keep looking for them to hire us. They're not going to hire us. Basic tenet of economics is this. The person who owns businesses is going to look out for the people in their own community because that's where they're going to get primarily most of their financial and economic support. They're going to hire their own guys. They're going to hire their own guys first to keep the money and the wealth inside their own community. They're not going to give black people money so they can go back to the black community to give them to spend it on themselves. They're going to make sure that they give their money to their own family members and their own friends so that the money stays in their own community. After they get it out of the black community, they make sure it stays in their own community. They send their own kids to college, they send their own kids to private schools, and while you're sitting there going to public schools with no books, because there's no tax base, because you don't have any tax base, that's the reason why you have no books, because you don't support your own businesses, you don't pay your own taxes, you don't pay for your own things, and that's why all these outsiders come to the black community and literally use the black community as their own as a sponge. Everybody sponges off the black community, and everybody gets all their money from the black community. I mean, everybody has used the black community as a stepping stone to take themselves on the next level, but everybody is taking themselves on the next level on the back of the black man, but the black man. The black man's not taking himself to the next level on himself. He's not investing in himself first. He's not putting himself first. And that's the sad thing about it. I mean, group economics is the only way for African Americans to bring themselves out of poverty. The only way to invest in our own communities, because we don't start spending with ourselves, we can't ask others to spend with us. If you don't see your products and yourself as having a value, no one else is going to see them as having a value. Black people just need to understand that if you don't shop at the black-owned business first, how is anybody else going to want to shop at that black-owned business? You have to see it as having a value. You have to see yourself as having a value. You have to see yourself as an asset. People only buy things that have value, and they're not going to. Otherwise, they're going to see it as something worthless, That's something they can get for free. That's something that they should get for free. They will feel a sense of entitlement that they have to get it for free. You have to say that this has value. You have to put a price on it. And that's what group economics does. It helps black people put a price on their value, on their work, on their services, and all the things that they produce. Um, Without group economics, you don't have a black community. You just have a welfare state, and that's what we have had in the black community for the last 40 years. We've had a welfare state that just sits there with a few working class black people who just literally give their money away to non-black institutions, help these non-black people get rich, help these non-black people sit there, and they make millions of dollars off of you. They take over your industries like they have with hair care, like they have with barbering, um, because black people gave those industries away. We at one time controlled black hair care and black barbering, and we even had control of the supermarkets, so we had our own supermarkets, but we gave that away because we didn't want to shop with each other, and because the white man's ice is always colder, and because non-black businesses always have so-called better services. Instead of us trying to step up our service and step up our quality, we sit there and don't try to push and try to do better and try to make our stuff competitive. It's very important that we make our stuff competitive, but we don't do that. If you don't have businesses, you can't get employment. You can't get the economic power and the economic base to create that political power to get people elected and to get your political platform, um, seen by politicians. I mean, the reason why you have so much racial profiling and all this other stuff is because black people really, we come out and protest, but we don't have any economic power to make a statement that says we value ourselves, and we value ourselves enough to demand that this policy be changed, or we will not do business with these other entities. And when people see economic power, that's what they respond to. That's what politicians respond to. That's what business people respond to. As a businessman myself, I have to go where the money is. And African Americans, sadly, we don't understand that how we spend our money has an impact on how we're being seen and perceived by the world. When you spend your money with non-blacks first, it says that you are putting yourself last. It says that you don't have a value. When you spend money with blacks first, it says you have a value. The black person is value, and that their money is worth something, and that they are going to put themselves first. And it's very important for black people to start putting themselves first, because that's the only way you can build a strong black community, and that's the only way you can have a strong black family. That's all I have to say for this video. Comment, rate, and subscribe.